Well, hello there, dead and lovely listeners. It's you boys. It's me, your good buddy, Uncle Ben Eller.
And me, Hollywood Steve.
And we are Dead and Lovely, your absolute favorite horror movie review podcast. In fact, the only horror movie review podcast.
The only one I
there
ever
are
heard of.
no others.
Nope.
Yeah, don't even search for anything else. They're
Nope.
not out there.
Don't exist.
There's just us. And we are kicking off the October Halloween season with a bang, because on today's episode, we've got a review ski of Evil Dead from 2013. We've got a very special preview palace with a guest star, and we're going to be doing our usual catching up and shooting the shit and having a good time and drinking a cold beer. If you want to get right to the movie review portion, there's a timestamp for that in the podcast description, but you don't want to miss this bullshit today.
No,
you don't want to miss it. I'll tell you that.
It's going to be top quality bullshit.
And I'll tell you how top quality it's going to be. I've got to go ahead and get this thing going here. Before we even start talking about all the cool horror movies we've watched this week, I got to get this whistle wet. Is that all right with you? How's your whistle? What's the whistle quality?
Wait, I'm just listening in. Yeah, no, I just heard a tumbleweed roll across my tongue.
I thought I could hear that.
Yeah. What is that I hear? Oh, no, two men are shooting at each other. One man
the Wild
called
West
another
in there.
man a varmint. It's like a desert.
There's gold
in
in them hills? Did that just come from my teeth?
I guess
What?
so.
We better drink ourselves a cold beer here. We got ourselves a Destill Brewery, which is from Illinois. This is their Haze of the Dead Hazy Double IPA brewed with Citra and Simcoe hops. It's part of their Deadhead IPA series. I got this over at Merchants of Beer in the Old City, Knoxville, and it is just fucking divine. I don't think you've had this yet, have you?
I have not. I'm excited for this. It's got flaked oats, so that sounds fun.
So horses and ponies will love it.
Yep. And what was it we said last week, or something
about I hope you feel like a fancy horse.
Fancy horse. There you go. This will make me feel like a fancy horse.
I think that it will, man.
Yeah.
Horse approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really, really good old tasty beer here. We've had some other stuff from Distill on the show.
We have, yeah.
The rumor about this company is that they fuck, and I think you can believe rumors.
I think I heard somebody saying that. They were saying, "Oh, Distill, ooh, watch out."
Yeah, they fuck. And it's true. This is a very delicious, very tropical IPA that's got a creamy mouthfeel and a beautiful golden color.
As fuck.
That's right.
Smells like Citra. I mean, isn't that pretty much exactly what happens with everything with Citra in it?
Yeah, it's kind of like
Citra.
a palate dominator for sure.
Yeah,
I got a wet ass pint glass right now. I'll tell you that.
From the bottom to the top with that wet ass pint glass.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Drink 'em up, have a beer. It's a wet ass pint glass. He's gonna wet your whistle yet.
Yeah,
good.
I'm excited.
What's that do
I'm gonna
for
taste
you?
this out.
Get your tug on that thing and report back with your findings. And I'm gonna go in after you.
Thick.
Yeah, thick beer.
It's thick. It's grapefruity. It's citry. It's good. Got like that juicy grapefruity flavor to it.
It sure does. I think I could probably make a morning bowl of cereal with some fucking Fruity Pebbles and just pour this on instead of some milk. I think that would get my day started yet good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's drinkable.
Well, now that my whistle is getting moistified right here, Steve, I'd love to catch up with you and find out what in the hell you been doing this week. What have you been doing?
What I've been doing, man? I've been doing it, is what I've been doing. I watched
Doing
some
some
wrestling the other night.
Oh, watch a little razzle.
Yeah,
little razzle dazzle, you say?
I actually just happened upon the Clash of Champions 2020 pay-per-view, which happened most recently. It was just playing on WWE, and I was like, I'll watch this. I don't really keep up with wrestling, like modern wrestling. I know names and stuff, but I haven't watched many matches. But they had a ladder match, and Jeff Hardy was in it. And I was like, that guy is older than us.
I was going to say, yeah, he's getting on up in his years, isn't he?
Yeah, and he is still not showing it at all. He was jumping off of ladders left and right.
Oh my God. I don't know the last thing that I jumped off of or even how high it was. It probably was embarrassingly low.
I thought about that the other day because, like, I remember jumping off of something embarrassingly low and kind of feeling in my foot like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah. I think that while we were, like, recently, you know, like, putting some stuff from the house in storage and all that jazz, I think I jumped off like the bed of a truck and I landed and I was like, "Aye,
Aye.
yeah, it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
We can't really jump off stuff anymore. We're past our jumping days, man."
Jeff Hardy has not heard about this because he placed a feller on a ladder, crossed the mat and the announcer's table, and then got up on a ladder himself and did a little swanton bomb onto feller and broke the ladder in half.
Look out.
It was badass.
They don't build those ladders like they used to, man.
I think they actually do build. I think WWE makes their own, and they built them in a very specific way because they don't warp anymore. You know how, like, the old TLCs, like, they would start climbing a ladder and then, you know, push each other off or whatever, and it would get all warped and it would be all fucked up. They don't really warp anymore, but they're also, they look like they're made out of, it's not metal, but it's also not, like, weak, because it can hold two full-grown, like, 200 and something pound men. So it is a little bit softer, I think, though, because you wouldn't normally be able to break a ladder in half.
They make those ladders out of fondant, like you decorate cakes with. They're so soft that way the wrestlers don't get hurt. You can tell it's fake.
Buddy Velastro made it.
It's actually a cake.
It is. The whole thing is cake.
Ladder.
The whole thing is cake.
The ring, too. The entire ring is actually just a cake.
It's cakes all the way down, baby.
Well, that's awesome. Sounds like there's some true pageantry in that art of wrestling.
Oh, you know what? It was actually really interesting. It was the first time I've seen one of these, like, empty arena things. But, like, what they have now is, like, they have screens with people, like, fans live streaming them watching the live stream.
Oh.
And it works really well. They're piping in, like, obviously...
Wait. And none of them got their dicks out during the stream? Are you serious?
Well, see, that was surprising to me. I think they keep them on a delay, though.
That's probably a wise idea.
Yeah, I did think about that several times. But yeah, it was interesting. And they're obviously piping in, like, booze and stuff. It's got to be Vince McMahon's wet dream, because he has always wanted to be able to control the crowd as well. Like,
right, yeah.
To tell them, like, no, you like this person.
Dude, I think the coolest thing would be, though, is if all these, like, sports events and stuff like that replace the crowds with, like, old unused animatronics from, like, Chuck E. Cheese restaurants and stuff.
Oh, man, that would be hilarious.
It'd be horrifying.
Yeah, all dilapidated and shit.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's cool, man. That sounds like a pretty good watch.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun little, like, surprise. Like, I just happened upon it. But this week I have been watching some horror movies because I'm getting ready for the spooky season.
It's spooky season. There's spooks in the air. We've got a little gray, cloudy, overcast sky. There's a little bit of rain. It's looking real gloomy-like.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and break the fourth wall here and tell you guys this is not the first time we've recorded the introduction to this podcast.
This is a reenactment.
This is a reenactment because my power went out and it didn't auto-save. And then, really funny, we started to record again, started to sync up. I said 3, 2, 1, and my power went out again.
It was listening. It was like, I'm going to nail this downbeat right here, motherfucker.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, I've been watching some horror movies this week because I've actually been, because of this movie, I was researching, like, horror remakes and, like, the remake boom of the 2000s. So I ended up watching The Haunting from 1999 with Catherine Zeta-Jones and etc. Luke Wilson is in it.
I remember the special effects being fantastic.
They did not look cartoonish and rubbery at all.
Does that movie hold up? Because I don't think I've seen it since, like, 99, really.
No, it doesn't hold up, but there is some really good set design on it, I think. Okay. And Catherine Zeta-Jones and Lily Taylor do good in it, but it's bad. It's not a good movie, I don't think.
Now, Liam Neeson is in that too, right? Does his daughter get taken or anything?
Speaking of Liam Neeson and Taken, in the movie, Liam Neeson refers to a cell phone, which you'll remember from Taken. She was on see, that's how I put the two together.
That's right.
He refers to a cell phone as a cell telephone.
Cell telephone, not a cellular phone.
No. No, not a cellular phone. Not a cellular telephone. Not just a phone. Nope. A cell telephone. No one has ever said that.
I'm going to start a new thing. I'm going to start saying, yo, call me on my cell tel. Could I have the number for your cell tel? And people are like, what? You know, your cell tel.
I really do. I could believe if somebody from Australia told me that in Australia they call them celly tellies. I would believe that.
That
Absolutely.
sounds real.
Yeah, that sounds real.
All right, so that movie sucks, huh?
I also watched the Fright Night remake.
Oh, now see, I remember watching that a long time ago. I think even before I watched the original, and I honestly don't remember anything about it.
So we did Fright Night like 2 years ago or so, and it was, I think, the first time you had seen it, and I had seen it, or maybe not the first time, but it was one of the first times you had watched it.
Yeah.
And I had seen it as a kid, and I never really loved it. A lot of people really love it.
Yeah.
I never really loved it. I think the remake is a better movie, but the CGI is absolute dog shit.
Oh, is it really bad?
Really bad. And in comparison to the great practical effects of the original Fright Night, that like knocks it down a lot of pegs, because the original Fright Night, I mean, that's the thing it really leans on, is how awesome the special effects are.
And they are great.
Yeah, and you know, Roddy McDowall's funny and stuff, but David Tennant replaces the Roddy McDowall character, and he's like a magician who's supposedly into the dark arts instead of a late night horror host. I mean, I think it's an improvement with Colin Farrell and David Tennant. I think they're both obviously great actors, and they do really good job in it. But it also has Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots in it.
Oh, she's just pooting it up, huh?
She's pooting it up, and they were in Green Room together. So
yeah, they were.
They're great in this together as well. And his mom is Toni Collette.
Oh shit, dude!
Yeah,
the stars are out for this cast.
Yeah,
damn. Who plays that annoying dickhead Evil Ed, and is he even a quarter as annoying as the original guy?
Not even a quarter. It's Christopher Mintz-Plasse. So McLovin.
Oh, he's in it, really?
Yeah, it's got McLovin in it. It's got he plays what's Scratch? Whatever the guy's name. I can't remember the name of the character. Evil Ed. Yeah, he's far less annoying in it, but he of course does still say the "You're so cool, Brewster" line.
Everyone's favorite.
So I mean, really, the CGI is so bad. Like any time Colin Farrell becomes a vampire, he's a CGI vampire, and he looks like another person is a vampire. Like,
that makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. Like, they could have just put fucking fangs on him.
Dude, that's the thing too, dude. Like, whenever you're redoing, and this is really gonna get into the subject of our movie today, but it's like, whenever you're redoing one of these 80s classics that's obviously known for its practical special effects, and then you have the audacity to put bullshit CG in there.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Like,
especially when you don't
doing?
even need to. It's a vampire. You put fangs on him, and he is now a vampire.
Dumb.
Like, contact. That's all they did in Fright Night. They did, like, the contacts. I mean, the girlfriend obviously had that, like, crazy mouth. That was cool. But other than that, everybody was pretty much just, like, some fangs and contacts. That's all you need. Why CGI? I don't get it. Anyway.
So overall, not great. Is what you're saying.
Overall, not great. But I think the story is the same basically, but it's just made better by having Colin Farrell and David Tennant and Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots, and Toni Collette. Like, they're all really good actors, so it's gonna improve the movie.
It don't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah. What have you been watching, Ben?
Dude, I've actually had time to watch about a movie, I think almost every night this week. So we watched through a lot of stuff. So we decided it was the appropriate time to kick off Halloween by watching Halloween from 2018, that newer one. I had it on in the background a couple of weeks ago while I was like doing some recording and stuff, but we just sat down and gave it a proper watch the other night. Still good. I still really like it.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't rewatched it. So
holds up. It's still fun, man.
Yeah, I remember really enjoying it. And every time I think back to the bathroom scene where he drops the teeth over the stall, that's real badass. Like, it's just brutal. Like, he ripped some dude's teeth out just to fucking intimidate somebody he was about to kill.
Oh man, yeah, it's got some like some holes in it. It's got some logic leaps and stuff. It's not perfect, dude. But it's like, have you seen Halloween 2, 4, or any of the ones after that?
Any of them, yeah.
They're not perfect movies by any means. Although, you know what? Speaking of like all the CGI stuff, there was a part in this that I really noticed this time where somebody gets slashed and there's like CGI blood.
Ooh, always
looks
bad.
Has that ever looked good?
No,
it's never looked good.
Never once.
Doesn't work at all. We also continued on. I talked about on last week's episode how we've been watching through some classic movies that a friend of ours has never seen. We've been getting together and just watching a movie that she's never gotten to check out because she didn't watch a lot of movies when she was a kid. So this week, we watched the original Nightmare on Elm Street, which she had never seen.
Oh, awesome. That had to be fun.
Yeah, it's really fun watching that movie with somebody who's like a full-grown adult that's never seen it. Yeah. So it was really fun, and there was a couple things in there in particular that stuck out to me where, okay, so they're having like the slumber party over at the house, right, where old Johnny Depp fucking plays the special effects tape and, hiding that he's there, all that stuff. And that dickhead Rod shows up, and you remember he's just like, oh, yeah, me and Tina are gonna bang tonight, blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
And there's that part in there where he's like, we've got dibs on our mom's bed. And I was like, wait, ew.
Yeah, why?
That's gross.
Yeah. What?
And it got me thinking about, like, imagine if that was the pickup line where you're like, I can't wait to get you into my mom's bed.
I can see how that would work. I mean, maybe your mom has a, like, notoriously great bed. Everybody hears about this bed. They want to lay in that bed.
Gotta know about it.
Can't wait to get you into my mom's bed.
I was talking about that, and that reminded Brooke of this time that she ran into like one of her old boyfriends somewhere at like a shitty gas station or something like that. And the guy was just like a super mega scrub, just totally, just trashy dude. And he's like, yo, it's been a long time since I seen you. Hey, hit me up on my mom's Facebook. Which I think is like the slickest pickup line I've ever heard.
My.
Hit me up on my mom's Facebook. That's going to get the ladies. That's going to get them all.
That's for
true.
Sure. She did not forget it.
The thing is, though, is that if somebody was macking on me and they used that line in a funny way, hit me up on my mom's Facebook, I'd be like, okay,
absolutely.
You're hilarious. You're cool as shit.
Yeah. It's not the line itself. It's that we know he meant it.
So that was a fun watch for sure, man. We also watched Shaun of the Dead. Newsflash, still
awesome.
Fucking fantastic.
Still
Love
great,
it.
Yep.
The other day while I was working out, we put on Corpse Bride, which is more funner than I remembered. I think I saw it like one time.
Funner. I haven't seen it in a long time.
It's an easy watch. It's like an hour 18. It's a really short movie and stuff, but still definitely fun. Enjoyed that. We also couldn't get enough Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, I guess, this week because we also watched Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, man. How much fun was that?
It was all the fun. But the thing about it is, honestly, I would say that I only watched about half of the movie because for the other half of the movie, I was staring down into a bowl of maybe the best pho I've ever had because the other day was pho day over here at the house. Dude, oh my Lord, this batch of pho broth that Kate made up, my God, man. And we have like a big like 15-quart fucking stock pot, and it's now, just we have like a year's worth of pho stock in the freezer that I'm going to go through in like a month. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we watched that. We also watched for our good old Documonday, we watched Feminism. What were they thinking on the Netflix?
What? Okay.
I'll tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking, hey, this ain't fair.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. That's right. They interviewed all these different ladies, and they said, you know what I was thinking? Hey, this ain't real fair. Yeah, this ain't fair.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And what did the documentary conclude about this?
Turns out, wasn't fair.
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Fucking nailed it, documentary.
It was really well done. It was like a very well put together, very, very well paced documentary. So
Okay.
I definitely enjoyed watching that. I'd recommend checking that out. And we also watched Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh.
Because it's the best.
Yeah. And you were still loving on it. Nothing's changed, correct?
Nope, not a damn thing. It is still a treat. Check out our review on that from a couple year back. We talked about that one.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one in a little while.
Really, really fun watch, man. Still enjoy that one. I'll probably honestly watch it again before Halloween is over. Because I love it so much. What'd you guys get up to on the old Screamin' Chat?
We need to start calling it that. Yeah, I
know,
that.
It's better. It's definitely better.
It really is, actually, yeah. The old Screamin' Chat, we did Wolf Creek, which I had never seen. And
I've heard tell of this movie.
Me too, and the tale I had heard made me not want to watch it. But then I was like, when a good time would be to watch it is on a Friday night with a bunch of people drinking.
I always see it lumped in with a lot of those like new wave of extremist movies like Martyrs and what's the one that we did a long time ago?
Frontiers, yeah.
Frontiers.
And then Switchblade Romance / whatever it's called.
That's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, we've done a few of those new French extremity films, and this was definitely playing off of those, but it's... I don't get enjoying it, honestly. It is 40 minutes of Australians partying and then a bunch of torture scenes.
Fun.
Everything an Australian has ever said as like a tagline is in it.
Oh no.
So
really?
That's not a knife, this is a knife is definitely in there.
Dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that shit is all in there. So I don't get why I've been told so many times to watch that movie. I knew in my head they're wrong, and I watched it, and I found out that I was in fact correct. It's not a good movie. But
word.
It's got. I mean, I get that the brutal scenes have some cool stuff in them for sure, but it's also just like I don't want to watch kids party for 40 minutes to get to some okay scenes.
And that's based on like the backpack murders or whatever,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's like loosely based off of so many different Australian murder cases. So, it's got that going for it. And it does have a feel of reality to it. Because like the killer really does remind me of so many backwoods like dudes that you come across that make you feel uneasy immediately. Where you're like, uh-oh, this guy probably killed someone. Uh-huh. So he does a good job. He's very menacing, but it's not, I don't know, it's just not my thing. I'm not into it. Yeah.
Okay, right on, man.
But it was fun. We had a great time on the old Screamin' Chat, as it's always been called.
As it's always been called. There has been no other name for it. And you guys can join up and hang out with the other Dead and Lovelies and watch movies with us on every Friday.
Yeah, on the Discord. I post the Discord link every Friday on all the social media, along with, what we're watching. So just check our social media or get the Discord link from any of the times I've posted it. Or even if you don't want to do that, you can just message me and I'll send it to you.
Message and say, I am the lazy, not gonna look nowhere. That's all you gotta say.
That's it.
We'll know what you mean.
Yep. Or you can just say, go away baiting.
Yeah, that's true. Go away and baiting. Be like, yep, okay, here's the Discord link. Got it.
There you go. I know what you're up to.
That's right. Steve, I say before we get on to the movie review ski and start cracking down on Evil Dead from 2013, I say we just take ourselves, as usual, a little detour into the preview palace. What do you think about that? You think that's a pro move?
I'll rip your soul out, Daddy.
Oh
in
my
the preview
God.
palace.
It got kind of nice there at the end. I like that. And how about, because this is a very special episode dealing with one of our very favorite horror series, how about I also invite one of my favorite people into the mix, and how about we just sit down and have ourselves a little chat with a good friend of mine that I have known for many, many years. We grew up in the Knoxville music scene, playing music together with our old bands before he got all super cool and super hunky and ripped and stuff, playing in a little band that you might have heard called Whitechapel. That's one singular word, Whitechapel. Don't get it wrong.
Whitechapel.
Whitechapel. We've got my good buddy, Zach Householder, on the line, who is just a wonderful dude. How are you doing today, Zach?
Gentlemen, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is ours.
I am glad to be here. I like the horror podcast, man. It's a good topic to have a podcast about, so I'm into it.
Well, that's the thing, dude, is like you're the first guy that I thought of as far as like having some fun guests and stuff on the show, because whenever you and I were touring together when I was playing fill-in guitar for Whitechapel, you and I had many a late night on the tour bus just staying up talking about like Poltergeist and The Shining and Evil Dead and just all kinds of horror flicks and stuff. So I think that's one of those areas that you and I kind of bonded over first,
I was staying up watching you like Rain Man through Castlevania, like Symphony of the Night.
Dude, I'm glad you got to witness my powers, because like people are impressed by the guitar stuff or whatever, but it's like you need to watch me play Symphony of the Night, and you got to see it firsthand.
It's crazy because like watching you play it through made it so much more fun for me, like when I went back and played it through again. So I was like, oh, this is all the cheating shit you can do to make this game more fun.
Get that Crusagram and just cruise through the game, man.
Yeah. But it's kind of crazy. Once you get it, though, you're just kind of... It's like it's so close to the end of the game, and then you're just like, well, fuck.
Yep.
It's like,
then you can just annihilate anything.
Just annihilate anything, yeah.
Well, you know, one of my favorite things about doing a podcast is, of course, the fact that it's like a little musical retreat, because, Zach, you, just like myself, pretty much spend 24/7 working on music all the time. So having a chance just to lay back and talk about something fun like horror flicks is like a weekly vacation. And it sounds like you have been holed up in the studio like a madman doing some production stuff on this new Whitechapel record, huh?
If you want to be real, I've been holed up in my studio for 5 months now because...
Gee, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, right? Because with the no touring thing, it's like, well, I better start figuring out other revenues of making a little bit of money. So I've just actually officially started my own business and just actually making the studio a legit LLC, and then like offering, Kemper profiles and like my tones and stuff like that on the website and stuff. So it's a start, man. It's something to lean into, and I've never put my studio out there to be used, but I have invested so much into it. There's no point. Yeah. There's no point not to use it for recording now. So.
No doubt, man. And that's great, too, that you're finding a way to make ends meet, because I know a lot of our fellow buddies in the music industry are struggling.
Everybody's struggling, man. Yeah,
it
sucks.
Why don't you drop that website and brand name and stuff on everybody so everybody can find it?
Well, I appreciate that. The website is TitanAudioProject.com, and for now, we just have the very good friends of mine in the company, Driftwood Amplifiers. They sent us an amp, and he wanted me to do an official profile pack for it for the Kemper Profiler. And
nice.
And so I literally went through it. It took forever because I did like 8 different sets of power tubes, because it's such a versatile head. You can use different power tubes and all that stuff. So, did a whole bundle for that, man, and it's available now. And I mean, that's just the start, man. We'll see what I'm going to do. Some IRs and impulses, and maybe start doing some Axifest stuff. It just depends. I'm building this slowly, so we'll see what happens. Studio services too, obviously, like recording, mixing, mastering, all that shit. So
killer, dude.
So I can finally record my Vanity album.
Yes.
Steve sings the hits.
The songs of the 20s and 30s. That's sung by Hollywood Steve.
Don't you go down that road with me, my darling. What?
Huh? Zach, this has got to be the longest you've been home in what? A decade?
Yes, if not that, probably longer.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a not good thing?
It's been a good thing for the fact that I finally got to start the business and really try to do some stuff I wanted to do. But the bad part is, like, it's so much downtime. It's like I have so much stuff I could do here, but it costs money to do that. So if I'm not making money, I can't do it. But for the album, though, it definitely helped, because we wouldn't have been able to write and done as much as we did on the new music without being at home, so it kind of helped in that sense too. But
I get it, man. I've written more music for myself this year than I have in the past 8 years combined.
And I'm kind of burning myself out, though. After this album's done, I got to stop for a bit, because I need to not write music. I need to probably get out of the studio for a bit, because my girlfriend's going to kill me if I don't. And
that'd be unfortunate.
Yeah. So, but yes, it's like everyone, man. Like you, we've just been stuck, so we might as well make the best of it. So.
Hey, that's the attitude to have, man. Might as well make the best of some unusual times that we've had this year, for sure, man.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No kidding.
So, Zach Householder is a man what loves Evil Dead, I think, even beyond the limits of what myself and Steve do. Like,
Whoa.
myself and Hollywood Steve, we grew up in the hood of the original
That's
cabin.
true.
Good
That's
old
true.
Morristown, Tennessee.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't think we ever went so far as to get Evil Dead fucking tattooed on our knuckles like that badass
No.
Zach.
I don't know if that was the smartest idea, but
It's still pretty awesome.
Fucking badass. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
I don't regret it at all. It's in Tennessee. If you live here and you go into a gas station, you're like, "Why you got evil on your knuckles?"
Yeah.
Dude, if somebody in Tennessee doesn't get it, I'm ashamed of
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
No, I remember I got that done on tour because I was very drunk when I got it. But you know what?
Nice.
That was a long ass time ago. That was like when we first started touring, and no, I don't regret it. It's still there. It's going to be there the rest of my life. I just, tattoos are just such taboo to some people still to this day, which is crazy. To
Oh,
me,
yeah,
but,
weird.
But, it'd be different if I had Hell Satan tattooed across my forehead. But never say never. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And I guess obviously what inspired you to get that done is that you're just a huge fan of this series.
Oh
huh?
yeah, I mean, anything. It's weird. I'm really into supernatural, and supernatural can be done really well or really badly. We all know that.
Oh yeah.
And I thought Evil Dead melded both really well.
Totally.
Kind of the zombie with the supernatural, and my whole right arm, the upper right arm, is all Evil Dead stuff too, because I'm just a super fan when it comes to it. But it's weird, man, because I found, if you want to go back to when I first discovered it, I found it. I would stay the weekend with my friend Whit in like 7th grade and 6th grade, and you're just old enough to where scary movies don't really scare you anymore. You're getting to that age, but we rented Evil Dead 2 on a whim, and we put it in his VCR, dude. He fell asleep, but like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, man. I'd never seen a movie like that, and it was just the camera angles and the cinematography and the makeup and the lighting. Something about that halogen lighting they use on the makeup, that warm sunlight kind of light, and it just made it even more like gross and real. And it was all about the environment that it created. And it's like the more you watch it, the more you see it, and that was just it was over for me, man. Every time we would hang out, went out to hang out, I'd rent that movie again, dude. I'd just watch it. I remember watching it twice in one night. I don't know what it was about that movie, but
Well, I think the thing about it is too is like not only did it have all that cool supernatural stuff and all the gore, but I mean if you're talking about seeing that as a ute, it also has enough of that like fucking Bugs Bunny slapstick appeal to it as well, especially the second half of the movie.
obviously they embraced that in the third movie in an Army of Darkness, and they just rolled with it. But no, that slapstick stuff, I felt like that was kind of an accident, and they just kept kind of, and as the movie went on, I felt like they almost kind of started rolling with it. But the first one was definitely not, I don't think they intended anything like that to be, and then the second one was essentially a remake of the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the second one was definitely my introduction to the Evil Dead series, and that's where it all started.
So you saw the second one before you saw the first one?
I did.
Wow. When you went back and watched the first one, were you like, whoa, this is different? Did you like it or not?
I still liked it. I still loved every bit of it. I think it was honestly just, it still had the creepiness to it. Some of the stop motion, like, was just something about that so creepy. I don't know why. But the stop motion, like with the skin melting off the face and everything, like it's got elements of the second one, but the second one has more of what I wanted in it.
I got that entirely. Yeah, I see what you mean, man. Yeah, and that's also how I felt about it too. Whenever I saw Evil Dead 2 for the first time, where I was like, I don't know if they were just, amplifying all the happy accidents that made the first one get kind of silly, or if this is the movie they really just wanted to make the first time, but didn't have the budget for. And then the funny thing is, Zach, is like I went probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years as an Evil Dead fan without watching Army of Darkness. And I watched that for the first time for the show a couple months ago. Yeah. Earlier this year. Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know how. I thought that I had watched it, but I think it was just one of those ones that was always like on in the background. So I assumed I had seen it. And I fucking love it. It might be my favorite of the entire series, man. It's just so goofy and silly.
It would be cool to be in your shoes and like watch it later after seeing 1 and 2. But once I found out about the movies, I just started watching them all. And about 3, it was funny because I had a friend that when I switched high schools, I was in sophomore year. I went to William Blount High School in Blount County, and I made a few friends there. And my friend Kevin Enzer, like he wasn't really a horror guy, but I was like, dude, you gotta watch Army of Darkness, it's hilarious. And I remember sitting down and watching it, he just laughed his ass off. He wasn't like a big horror guy, but like it's like the scene where the skeleton with the helmet on yells, "Let's get the hell out of here!" Like he had to rewind that part and watch it like 3 times because it was that funny.
It's so stupid, man. Again, it's like cartoon shit. It's like Looney Tunes stuff, I
loved it though, man. Something about that melding those two together, and somehow it was lightning in a bottle that I don't think they meant to find, but they just grew on it and expanded, and it just turned into a cult classic. You can't recreate that. You can't, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
No. And I mean, Sam Raimi is just an absolute visionary, because it's kind of like you were saying, Evil Dead is kind of its own place in horror. Like, there's not really much else that sets foot in doing like extremely well done gore and scares and stuff, but is also really stupid and silly. Like, I think the only real cousins that I can think of would be like Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, or Brain Dead as it's called.
Yeah, which was
but there's not much else.
Imitating Evil Dead as well. So
very much.
Evil Dead kind of invented the whole idea of this like silly but also serious. Like, Bruce Campbell can easily be looked at and taken seriously, but just one little glance and he's funny. He can turn on a dime, which makes the movie so much easier to mold into that silly while still being, scary, genuinely.
Yeah.
The scene in the second one where he's in the cabin and everything in the cabin, like the lamp starts laughing at him and stuff.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Like, his facial expressions and his acting. Yeah. Like, I guess you could call it like almost overacting, but it works for him though. It
exactly.
Really
yeah.
And, he just nailed it, and it made the movie even more so what it was. Like, if you didn't have Bruce Campbell, then it wouldn't have been what it is by any means.
Not at all. Yeah.
No, not at all. And that's the fun thing too, when you look at that original trilogy and you see not only how the tone of the movies progressed from being horror to horror comedy in the second one to just comedy in the third one, but then also see the evolution of Ash, where like Ash in the first one is honestly kind of a wimp through most of the movie. In the second one, he's out of his mind, and then in the third one, he's full-on Ash, like macho, chick magnet, silly character. I think it's fun to see how all those things progressed. And then when you reach the 2013 remake, it's just like they totally clean slated it. And I know to a lot of people that, has got to seem like sacrilege to be like, you're making an Evil Dead movie without Ash, without Bruce Campbell. But I think that's the smartest move they could have done, because who the fuck could replace Bruce Campbell?
No, impossible.
They honestly could have done that movie and honestly called it something else almost, because without relating it to the Evil Dead series. But like, it wasn't by any means. I watched it twice. I watched it through twice, and it wasn't by any means bad.
No,
I was not like, I didn't blow my face off or anything, but like it had some of the it kind of really relied on that edgy horror where like the needle in the eye and stuff like that. Like,
ooh, man,
like the uncomfortable stuff. Like, it's, to me, that's kind of it's cool, but it's kind of a cop out, because you're trying to make the movie scary in other ways that Evil Dead wasn't scary. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And it's just like we're with the movie Poltergeist. When the entities that are in the movie are revealed. Like, especially in the first Poltergeist, when the scene where you finally see her on the ground and that thing comes out in front of the door and you see it and it's full effect and it's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
like that's what makes movies, especially the supernatural stuff, is when they reveal it and it's like actually really good. That's what makes it better. And I feel like with the Evil Dead remake, they did a good job, but they relied on a different angle for it. That's
a good way to put it. Yeah, because it is a very different kind of angle of what is making this scary, huh?
Yeah, and that's what I think too. Yeah, because there's still a supernatural aspect to it, but it's not the same as the original, which is fine. That's what the remake was. That's what it's supposed to be. They took a different approach, and it still had creepy parts. It still had. I honestly thought. And it's weird. The first time I watched it, I actually thought this is the way it was going to go, and I thought about how cool it would have been, but there was the one, the one extra in the movie that's pretty much there just to kill off. It was that girl, the blonde girl that she was kind of in the background the whole first part of the movie, and then she ends up getting her hand infected and takes a knife thing to like cut it off. And to myself, I'm like, oh, how cool would it be if this like background character ends up taking up kind of the mantle of Ash and it's a girl. It was like
Totally.
that'd be really cool, but then it did not go that direction.
Yeah, it didn't.
Obviously
no, she was just introduced to die. Yeah.
Yes, pretty much. So, so in my head, I was like, that would have been cool, but the whole raining blood part was pretty epic.
Oh yeah,
Slayer
Fucking
moment.
metal.
Yeah,
Fucking metal, dude.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
pretty cool.
we're gonna talk a good bit more about the movie after the interview, but I will say that what I would say this movie basically is 1 hour of a really bad movie and 30 minutes of an awesome movie.
There you go. Yeah.
That's a pretty good way to look at it. Yeah, I think
too.
that's a good way to look at it. But at the same time, man, it's like, there in the early 2000s, we had so many swing and a miss remakes.
Oh, God.
Dude. Like, Zach, you saw that
so
that
many.
Poltergeist remake, right?
I didn't bother, man. I couldn't
Oh,
do it.
dude.
I don't want to. Poltergeist is another one of those movies that holds such a special place in my heart that
Poltergeist
I
is great.
cannot do it. And even with swing and a miss, not even with remakes, man. Just like horror, supernatural horror period, like Insidious. Insidious was almost good until they revealed the demon, and he looked like the bass player of Mudvayne.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, he's like a cross between
How did we
Martini and
not
fucking
catch
Darth
that?
Maul. I didn't even think about that.
I could not get into it, dude. It's like this just ruined it for me, and they almost had something really cool. And I think I can't make a movie. I've never made a movie, so I can't. I think some horror movies are just tax write-offs, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
That actually
totally.
is true, especially if they're made in certain countries.
Yes. So, but Supernatural is real hard to do right, and I mean, there's been a few in the past, like the Haunting of Hill House, that series. Dude, there's one episode where they're in the funeral parlor, and it's a whole scene. It's a whole scene where they don't cut for like almost 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, the long shot episode.
Incredible. Like I was like, this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for, and it was stuff like that. Man, people were still pushing the boundaries, so there's going to be more misses than actual home runs, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're right, man. But there's something about it whenever they get it right that is just the best. I mean,
Phenomenal,
the original
yes.
Poltergeist is still
Terrifying.
Still one of my all-time favorites, and still, absolutely terrifying. We did Insidious on the show. What was that, Steve, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
And man, it's like I hadn't watched that movie for years, and it's like you said, man. It's like there's some okay things in there, but then it's just fucking terrible.
I hadn't watched it since we watched it on tour, like a maybe 7 years ago or something, even longer, and I haven't watched it since, really. I don't know how well it would hold up. As far
It doesn't.
Take your word on that. It's like trying to go back and watch The Phantom Menace. It just you just
I can't. I can't.
can't.
Watch
No,
that.
I can't get
skip
through
it every time
Yeah.
I rewatch. I just cannot watch it.
hell, I can hardly do the second one.
It's tough. It's a
yeah.
drag.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I know that with the remake, like I went in with such low expectations because of all those shit-ass remakes that other people have done of all these other great horror flicks. So I went in with such low expectations for the Evil Dead remake, and then I watched it, and I was like, actually, that was a lot better than I was thinking that it would be.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Honestly, Evil Dead remake, I would say is probably the best of the 2000s remakes, but that's still a low bar.
It's
kinda.
a low bar, yeah.
Yeah, it's a low
because what are
bar.
you saying?
There
It's
you
better
go.
than the fucking
The
Nightmare on Elm Street reboot?
yeah.
Oh, now don't get me wrong. I like the guy that they got
Me
to play
too.
Freddy
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I like
he is
him
great.
as an actor.
Jackie Earle Haley.
Jackie Earle Haley, yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So, but it definitely
No.
wasn't that stellar of a movie.
The
by any
CGI was
means.
terrible.
Like with what we were talking about earlier, with like Ash finally like embracing that macho character, that's kind of quirky and kind of dumb but smart at the same time. Like he really embraces that in the series too, which I really like the series.
Oh,
they
man.
did. It's just got campy Evil Dead all over it. I mean, some parts drag a little bit. It's a series, but whatever. But I mean, you're watching it for Evil Dead. You know what I'm saying? And and they deliver. So I've watched it through twice now, and it's it sucks there won't be a third season of it, but whatever, dude. I mean, Bruce Campbell gave us what we wanted. He's given us enough. He can just hang out and do whatever now.
Well, and he is producing the next Evil Dead. They have announced like a so
no,
he's
I didn't know
producing,
that.
so he's working. At least he's going to be involved. Yeah.
Is it a movie or a series?
A movie. It's called
Really?
Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, it's directed by
Nice.
an Irish director. I haven't seen his stuff yet, but I hear it's good. Lee Cronin.
Okay. I didn't know
Look
about
into that. I haven't heard about that yet. Me either. Yeah.
I've never watched the Ash versus the Evil Dead series.
You gotta
Steve has
see it,
seen
dude.
it.
Yeah,
you
you
guys
gotta
say
watch
it's
it.
worth checking out, yeah?
Yeah, Lucy Lawless,
It's
Bruce
worth it, man, for
Campbell.
sure.
It's awesome. And then the two
Yeah.
other, I can't remember the actors' names, but the two sidekicks are great.
The girl's a little over the top sometimes.
It
But
is
it's
fun,
funny
yeah.
though. Like as in like she gets so mad and like starts yelling. And it's just, it's a great show. No, it's fantastic. I feel terrible for not remembering the other two main actor and actresses, but yeah, Lucy Lawless. What a surprise, man! Just
Fucking Xena.
just
Yeah,
Xena, in
Xena,
there. Just-
yeah. Well,
right. She did really good in
yeah.
that show.
I mean, Bruce Campbell was on Xena.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He wasn't Robin
It was
Hood,
something
he?
like that,
Was he
though.
Robin?
I remember, yeah.
I
I
don't
can't
remember.
remember that show very well. But Sam Raimi produced it, so.
Didn't Bruce do? Was it Briscoe County Jr.?
Briscoe County Jr. I loved that show as a kid.
I have not watched it
I haven't
since I
either,
was a
yeah.
kid, and I'm
Me
afraid
too,
to go
because
back.
it was real weird. It was like a Western, like a steampunk Western, and there was like a real weird like orb
yeah.
involved.
supernatural Western weird. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Yeah, it's still better than the
For
Wild Wild West.
sure. Yeah. Speaking of steampunk Westerns, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Do they have a fucking mechanical spider? I doubt it.
Or a guy with an ear horn.
Dude.
Talk about movies that are attacked.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, man, it's so fun to talk to somebody who's as passionate about the Evil Dead series as we are. But, Zach, I gotta ask your personal ranking, and we're going to stick to just the 4 movies. We're going to talk about Evil Dead 1 and 2, Army of Darkness, and the 2013 remake. I got to know how they stack up for you in a 4 through 1 rating. I got my guesses as to where this is going to go, but what are you going to put as your least favorite? I'm not going to say the worst, because that implies it's bad, but what's your least favoritist?
It's pretty obvious, man.
It'd be
It'd be
the
the
remake.
remake, you know.
Yeah.
They tried to remake, and they really tried to do a fresh start to it, but it's just not the Evil Dead. And that sounds stubborn when I say it, I hate it when they change stuff. I like change. I like new, fresh ideas, but it just wasn't the Evil Dead that
Right.
I wanted. I wanted more of the supernatural, like there. It was there, but not in the same presence.
Oh, yeah.
But so definitely the remake.
That makes
for me.
sense, man. And that's such a catch-22 as well, because, you know, it's like, obviously, if they're going to change a legendary flick like Evil Dead, then there's going to be people that are getting mad that they changed it. But then, if they just did a direct remake and tried to recast Ash or whatever,
Yeah, that would fail.
people would hate
Oh,
that
Yeah.
you
too.
can't, dude. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't, man. Like
Exactly.
there's just no way to make everybody
Mm-hmm.
happy with that. That's why I give them the benefit of a doubt. And whoever did the movie, I can't, I can't judge them, man. Because I mean, they didn't do an awful job. It was kind of a partial miss.
I got
that's
it,
all.
man, entirely. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense, man. What are you going to put as numero trace?
I would have to go with number one.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that.
Number one, just because the order I discovered
Yeah.
the movies in, that's definitely.
I
the
think
number
it's still
one.
fair, even though, like, I saw the first one first. I think you're right that the second one is slight remake of the first one and an improvement.
And for me, Evil Dead 2 is
Yeah.
one for me, and Army of Darkness
Oh, yeah.
is number 2, because that's just those two movies, the 2 and Army of Darkness, are just my two like go-tos for the Evil Dead series.
Yeah, it totally makes
sure.
sense, man, because I did watch the movies, I suppose, in order now that I think about it, because I did see the first one first, then I saw the second one, then I saw Army of Darkness just a couple of months ago. Actually, you know what? I saw the remake before Army of Darkness, so never mind. I'm a little bit out of order. But I would still also say that Evil Dead 2 is better than Evil Dead 1. And I know
Yeah.
that's probably, sacrilege, and some guys like
I think a
smashing
lot
his
of people
dashboard right
agree.
now.
No, I think a lot of people agree with that. It's
I think one was growing pains
Yeah.
for Raimi, and then once he got it right, he was like, okay, I got it now. And even 2 didn't have that big of a budget, and they still killed it. I mean, I don't think they expected it to be what it was.
Totally, man.
I love the rawness of the first one. There's a whole lot of like
Oh, yeah,
dark
there's a-
rawness too that is not
Yeah.
in the other two. But 2's a better film.
That's what appealed to me about the first one too, was the raw, like there's this vibe to it for sure, and that's why you can't totally write it off. It's just, and I'm just going off nostalgia when it comes to my list. As far as how I saw the movies as being younger and everything. So Yeah, 1 is definitely still really
it's a
cool,
great one.
though, so.
Yeah.
I get that, man. And talk about one of the most ambitious independent movies ever with like zero budget.
Yeah. We're going to go out into the middle of East Tennessee in a little cabin in the fucking winter and shoot a horror movie that we're not really sure how is going to end.
And then lo and behold, like, not only was it a success, it spawned an entire genre of horror movie, which is the cabin in the woods horror movie.
I saw that movie when it came out and I was working at the movie theater.
I love Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah, I
think
like
it's
Cabin
so
in the Woods a whole
fun.
lot. Yeah.
It definitely had a twist that I was not.
Yeah, no, the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, where is this going? Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of dug it for sure. I actually went back and rewatched that recently.
Yeah.
And I still like it.
It's great.
So.
That's one we watch pretty much every year, honestly. That's
Yeah,
one of those
I love that
October
movie.
watches
Yeah.
that we always got to check out because it's a love letter to horror, you know?
That's what it is, exactly, yeah.
I agree.
So good, man. Well, dude, now we have an authoritative ranking from Zach Householder himself. Now we all know, and the world can finally quit banging on our door looking for answers. Now we got them.
It's solved. There's no reason to even look into it anymore.
Yeah.
This is done.
It's over. It's authoritative.
It's written in stone.
Well, man, I really appreciate you sitting down here to chat with us about
thanks a lot,
this
Zach.
historic
Of
horror
course, yeah, thank
franchise,
you.
man. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well and you're getting your studio and stuff up and running. Plug that thing one more time here for the kids listening.
For studio work or anything like that, mixing, mastering, reamping, and everything, it's TitanAudioProject.com. And I sell, digital profiles for Kempers, and I'll be selling impulses for impulse loaders and all that. For all you geeky tone heads out there, I'm sure there's a lot of Eller fans that are
Loving it. Yeah.
that
There
are
might
into
be
that,
some
so, yeah,
nerds
they're loving
listening
it,
right
so.
now. It could
For
happen.
sure.
Yeah,
They're
some nerds
definitely
listen.
there.
It's okay. We're all fellow nerds. It's okay. No. Yeah, I appreciate you letting me plug that, man. That means a lot. So yeah, check it out. It's just a growing process, and we'll see what happens with it. So I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm not excited to pay taxes on it.
No.
One last question, Zach. Is that next Whitechapel album, is that that's going to be pop punk?
I was gonna say probably more progressive rock.
Okay,
but,
okay.
Maybe some pop punk in there, maybe. But
Little two-step action.
yeah, a little two-step action. It's there's no blast beats. There's zero gutturals. Actually, Phil just doesn't sing on it. He's just gonna sit by the mic and breathe into it. So
That's
That sounds
fantastic.
great.
It's a
It sounds
spoken
awesome.
word pop punk album. You heard it here first.
there you go.
Well, thanks again so much,
Yeah.
man. It's good to talk with you, and it's good to catch up about this legendary franchise.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
That Zach Householder, what a nice young man. I don't care what people say about him. I think he's a swell guy.
I think he's a horseman for sure.
He is a horseman of all horsemen, a man of all horses. Thank you so much, Zach, for being on the show. And everybody keep their peepers peeled for that new Whitechapel album coming out soon. I'm sure they'll be posting some cool stuff about that on their social medias. Ain't nothing but good boys. I like them a lot. So thanks so much, Zach, for tuning in. But, Steve, we're not here just to stroke Zach's ego.
We're not?
Hell no.
What?
No, absolutely not. We're here to be talking about that remake, that reboot, of Evil Deed from
That's it?
2013. Evil Deed, it's
Evil
known as.
Deed. That sounds like a evil banker character from
Evil Deed.
Yeah, from like a cartoon. Yeah. I'm Evil Deed.
And of course, this is, carrying on part of the long-standing Evil Dead legacy, starting from the original Evil Dead, which we've reviewed, Evil Dead 2, which we've reviewed, Army of Darkness, which we've reviewed, and the Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I've not seen, but you have.
Yeah, and you should see. It's a good show.
That's the word on the street, and so I shall. And this movie came out in 2013, and I think in my head, I thought that it was older than that.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, I guess I must have streamed it as soon as it hit streaming services.
Probably. It's because I remember watching it around then, and I haven't watched it since either, and it has felt like a while, but 7 years only, so a lot's happened in between, I guess.
Well, you know what they say, Steve, time flies when you're having fun, so I guess when things haven't been all fun,
Yeah. Time
it's
slows when you're having lows.
slower. Yeah, that's how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I remember going into this with, expectations that were less than zero, because how can you remake
Yeah.
Evil Dead? How
Same.
can you do that? A movie that was accidentally legendary. Whenever they set out to make Evil Dead, it's one of the most, as I mentioned earlier, successful independent movies ever made. They weren't trying to make a legendary flick, and it just happened by accident. And then to try to recreate that with a much bigger budget and a plan to make something that is a follow-up of a genre-defining flick, it's like, how can this work? So I went in with terrible expectations for this,
Same.
and honestly, I was pleasantly surprised, maybe because of the low
Me too.
expectations.
Me too. When I saw it back in 2013, I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I was enjoying a good bit of it. Rewatching it now, I see a lot of the problems that I
Same.
didn't see back then, but I think
Yeah.
that had to do with us coming from the perspective of, well, this could only be shit, so if it's not shit, hooray, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be better than not shit, so it's like, well, great.
Yeah. And then, watching it this time, kind of going into it with the expectation of, oh, this is actually pretty good. You watch it again, and you're like, there are definitely very good things about it, but I think I saw the flaws for this movie a lot
Same.
more this time. I think I saw some things into it a little bit more deeply. And then I saw other things that I was like, they didn't really need to do that necessarily. So I want to get into some of the details and stuff with you here. But this is brought to us by writer-director team of and
That's exactly who did it. Of course, it was Fed Alvarez and Rodo Sayagues.
I don't know why you feel the need to repeat everything that I say, but okay.
It's the echo. There's always an echo.
It's the lag due to us doing this over the internet.
That's what it is. We did have the little question, I guess, last episode of if it was Fede or Fed. It's like it's short for Federico, though there is an E on the end of it. You're not pronouncing it, so it's just the short form of Federico. Fed. This is his big sort of break, I guess. He's a Uruguayan filmmaker. He and Rodo Sayagues, I think that's how it's pronounced, both had been working together on some stuff in Spanish language stuff, and then they got this break to do this, and I think obviously he took a hold of this and really made something out of it, because since then he's done Don't Breathe, which also stars Jane Levy, and I really like that movie. Very
I've heard you talk about that one.
Yeah. I haven't seen it a second time, so it might be one of those where I watch it a second time and I don't think it's as great, but the first time I watched it, I was like, this is awesome. He also directed the they continued the Girl and the Dragon Tattoo series, but with new people.
Oh,
do you remember this?
That's right. I
Claire
didn't watch
Foy
any
was,
of that stuff.
I haven't. I saw the first remake, but I haven't seen this. He directed that one, The Girl in the Spiderweb.
Oh,
and
am I nuts, or am I just? I don't know. Am I crazy for not really liking those movies that much, or is it just that whole story? I just don't think it's very good.
Story's. Yeah, it's a really long, drawn out revenge tale. That I saw the 3 original. I don't know if you saw all 3 of the original Swedish or if you've read the books, but it's really drawn out. The story, the revenge takes a good bit of time. Anyway, the Alvarez is also going to be directing the upcoming 9th installment of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series.
Oh, no shit.
So I'm interested in seeing what they do with that. Yeah.
Seeing how he handles, a classic franchise and incredible gore like he did in this.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm interested in that. I didn't know about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with it. I wonder if it's going to be a part of the reboot line or if it's going to be part of the classic line. We'll find out.
Yeah.
This is a real strong outing, I think, though. It's why he's getting these things, because you see this in 2013. And the reason why, looking back on it now, I can, critique it, but the reason why when we saw it in 2013, we were so blown away is because we had just rode the wave, the shit wave of remakes that I have been researching, this entire week. That's why I watched The Haunting. That's why I watched Fright Night. And I want to give a brief history of what I think is going on.
Okay.
So, you remember in the 80s, there were some remakes of movies like The Fly, The
Thing,
The Blob.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah. And they were very good movies that actually improved on the premise of the originals.
Yeah, exactly. Hollywood got the biggest fucking boner you could get when this worked. Because if you don't have to search for new properties, if you already own them, you're saving some money. If you already know that there's an audience for it, then it's worth putting out there.
Yeah, the studio already owns the IP, so it's not like you have to go out and buy another one or search for what's popular.
Right.
It's already there, making money.
So they start trying to force it. Start trying to force more and more remakes, and it doesn't work. They get John Carpenter on it. They bring him in to do Village of the Damned. Fails. Absolutely fails. They keep pushing it. 1998, they bring in Gus Van Sant to redo Psycho entirely.
Shot by shot.
Shot by shot. Literally saying to people, hey, fuck you, give us money. And it didn't work. Surprise.
No. Shocker.
Then accidentally, Jan de Bont is directing the remake of The Haunting, and it makes $100 million over budget. And that cemented it. It was at that moment that Hollywood was like, nope, that's all we're doing. That is it. Since
after all those failures, they had one bite on the hook, and they were like, oh, yeah, we were right. Keep on it.
Yeah, because the thing was, it was always going to be more worth it. It was always going to be a less of a risk to remake the movie. So they were always going to make it work no matter what. So once it actually did take, they leaned into it hard. So The Haunting makes $100 million. That's 1999. After that, from that point, there were over 100 remakes from 1999 to now.
Holy moly.
Horror remakes. Horror movie, not other types of genres. Horror movie remakes.
Whoa.
It's insane. So the reason why when we went and saw this, we were already like, oh, the franchise is flawless. What the fuck are you remaking? But number two, every remake we've seen up to this point, almost all of them have sucked.
Yeah.
And you keep forcing this shit down our throats. So we go and we watch it and it's decent. And it's like, this is all we've wanted. Just decent.
Something that is passable.
Just passable. Please try more of this. And then they're like, no, fuck you, Poltergeist.
Yeah, fucking Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Like, what are the classic franchise going to be shit all over?
Amityville, like all of them, The Omen, all that stuff was remade.
I mean, I thought the Omen remake was okay. It was good because it was basically the exact same thing as the original with different actors. Like, it was really almost the same fucking movie.
And Julia Stiles did put in a lot of effort to be weird with the kid. Like, she wouldn't talk to him or anything outside of...
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But it still was just,
It didn't need to happen. I mean, The Omen is still there, and it's still a great flick, so why even bother?
But yeah, like all those... And, well, you also have to remember how many remakes were foreign remakes as well. So remaking...
like The Ring, The Grudge.
Yeah, all that stuff. So it was for, 15 years, all we were getting basically was sequels to already successful franchises and remakes. And then the other stuff was torture porn that who the fuck wants to watch it?
Not me. It's not my thing.
I found some things that I think that the remake boom was trying to incorporate slowly. Like they part of the remake boom, of course, and part of the success is The Ring coming in 2001, and then The Grudge, bringing in Asian horror. So that's bringing in some of some of the torture and body horror that you see in Asian films is then being incorporated more into American horror.
Well, but the thing about those movies is, and why those worked, is because American audience had no nostalgia or connection to those franchises yet. So when they changed stuff, they didn't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were taking the wrong lessons. Yes. Hollywood does that a lot. Takes the wrong lessons. So they started moving to darker, edgier. Everybody's yelling all the time. The soundtrack is heavy. Goes from like absolutely nothing to 100 in a second. Like,
it sounds like you're talking about Sleepaway Camp.
well, okay. I mean, yeah, those things were all sort of tropes that were there, but they just started like refining it into just shit that it is hard to really connect to.
Sure.
Like you go back and watch these movies and they don't feel as natural. Like you watch a Friday the 13th movie, even if the acting is bad, it feels natural. These remakes, a lot of them, even with the best actors, it all feels like wink wink. Like, hey, remember the old one? We're doing that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And there are moments of that even in this movie.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, which don't work at all for some reason. The idea that you would go from this dark ass tone to suddenly like the quick cut montages of him making shit like Ash, like,
yeah,
that just doesn't work.
Yeah, the tone is kind of just like a really weird, abrupt shift right there. Like there's ones that are more subtle, where like she's sitting on that old car. That's the classic.
Yeah, that's a good
that works
nod.
for me. That's okay.
Yeah,
but then other ones are just a little bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think that overall, what I've gathered from the researching these remakes is that we know Hollywood takes the path of least resistance. Like, they're trying to find the easiest way to make money, and I'm not saying anything negative about them, except I'm saying something negative about capitalism. But that is all businesses. They're trying to make money. They spend the least amount that they can to make the most amount that they can, and it's gonna keep happening. They're gonna keep remaking movies because it's been happening from the beginning. Like, there are remakes of Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame and all sorts of different properties from the 1920s through the 1930s. There would be several versions of those. So
you said there's like 100 versions of damn Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or something, right?
Oh, there's so many versions of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so many versions of Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's just ridiculous how many times they would go through those. So it's not a new thing. It's not a new Hollywood thing. But I think that the 2000s version of it has probably proven to be the worst. Like
the least successful, yeah.
The least successful. Like, so few of them actually were worth a watch. That it made a lot of money for sure, and didn't spend a ton of money. So they did exactly what they wanted to do, but it just was the most bereft of any real art, I think.
Yeah, totally. Because so few of these like actually did something that the original couldn't do, or made the original premise somehow better.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of them were just like, I don't know, fucking use cheap CGI and shit. It's a new technology. The kids will go crazy, you know?
Kids love the technology.
The kids love it. But yeah, overall, like, whenever I watched this the first time, I went in with such shit expectations that I was pleasantly surprised and definitely amazed by certain aspects of the movie. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the good stuff, because I think obviously if you've seen this movie, the most outstanding feature of the entire thing is definitely the gore. The gore and the violence and the brutality are unflinching and uncompromising. Like, there's so many shots in this that I just kept waiting for them to cut away, where it's like, they're not going to show me this. Like, they've got to cut away at some point before the real graphic part happens, and it's like, no, let's go closer up. Let's show the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by how much they got away with. I guess the original rating was NC-17, but they nipped some stuff out to keep it R. I've watched the R-rated cut. I don't know how this got an R rating. It is
It's brutal.
Absolutely brutal.
I watched the NC-17, and I'll tell you, it's just extended bits, basically.
Yeah?
It's nothing's like I'm saying I don't see the difference between the NC-17 and the R. Like, they're both as like you just cut a snip a few seconds here and a few seconds there. Like, you show something a little less. Aside from the ending, there is a little bit different. She gets away from the cabin, and then a guy in a truck picks her up, and then it like zooms into her eyes, but her eyes are normal.
What?
I'm not really sure what they were getting at with that. I
Why
understand why
matter?
they cut it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, though it is a real brutal movie. So I can't see what little bits they cut that they were like, yeah, that's better.
That's too far. We can't show that. And I gotta say too, like, not only is it just really, really, really fucking brutal, because it is, it's also,
Yeah.
I think, brutal in creative ways in terms of like some of the, let's say, the murder weapons and stuff that they choose to use in this, because it's not at all your typical like, oh, machetes and fucking shotguns and blah blah blah.
No,
It's like,
there is a shotgun, but it's not used to murder anyone.
no, instead it's like, let's watch somebody get stabbed with a needle extremely violently all over their body. Like, the thing about that scene to me that is so effective, where she's stabbing that dude with the hypodermic needle and shit, is it really makes it spring to mind whenever you read like crime scene reports and stuff, right?
Right.
Of like a murder, and it's like, oh, the victim had like 38 wounds, and they had wounds to the hands, to the face, to the neck, to the chest, and you're just like, oh my god, that person was just going nuts on him. And then to see how it happens, you know? Well, it's kind of like the same deal we talked about like in opera, whenever that guy's getting clearly murdered on camera, and he's getting slashes on his hands because he's putting his hands in front of him to try to guard from blows, and they're getting, you know, slashed as a part of it. Like, all of the like self-defense related injuries that people get in this that are a result of them putting a hand or an arm up in front of themselves.
The forearm, the hand,
Dude,
or
that
crowbar
one
to the
right there?
hand as well, yeah.
Oh my god, man. And you got to think too, like, this movie for me really had my toes curling up and had me in a ball on the couch, because so many of these injuries are like nightmare fuel for me, man. Like, somebody swings a crowbar at me, and I put my hand up and it gets cleft in twain. And it's not even by like a clean implement like a knife.
So
like,
it's blunt
a
and just
crowbar.
ripping your hand apart with
Holy
force.
shit. And like breaking bones and stuff in the process. It's not a clean cut. It's so
I already like
rough.
I'm with you, dude. I already don't like needles, and a needle going in an eye, and then he like pulls the needle out of his eye. They did a good job with that. Like, it's a cool little bit, because they know
I figured that was one that would get to you, yeah.
Yeah, they know that people out there are really fucked up by that. So like, yeah, having it just like break off in his eye and then him slowly pull it out was like, it was hard to watch.
And apparently too, like that shot, and then also the shot where later on he gets like his hand like nail gunned to his chest, and he kind of like pulls it out, you know? That's just
brutal.
him like holding the nail in between his fingers and pulling it out slowly. Like, there is no special effects.
it's
there
smart.
is no prosthetic. There's nothing.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you just show it right with the camera, and it looks brutal.
You ever seen somebody bifurcate their tongue with a fucking dirty, probably not sharp knife? Because I have now.
Yeah, I sure have now. Yeah, it's brutal. Like, and all that stuff. It like, that's those are the moments when you're watching and the movie works. It's like that stuff works. The opening stuff with like burning the chick and all that, like all of that, like watching
the visceral stuff works.
Right. Yeah. Watching it the first time, when it opens with that, you're like, oh, what are we about to watch? Like, just the way that hits is like, oh, this is not what I expected, like, already. So yeah, each of those like real deep visceral moments is great. Problem is, it's broken up with about an hour of shit.
Okay, yeah, and again, that's the kind of thing that I noticed a lot more of this time around, is that there are some things in the setup there in the first hour or so of the movie that I think are really cool that we'll talk about. And then I think there's other stuff where it's just like there's this needless, almost soap opera-y storyline along with some very soap opera-y acting about like, you left me with our mother who was crazy and you abandoned me and our friends. And it's like, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, nothing about the mom matters at all.
Not at all.
Even remotely.
Nope. Mm-mm. It's, it really plays out in a way that it's almost like somebody was trying to fake you out to think that David was the protagonist.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't need that fake out. Jane Levy is the best thing going for the movie other than the gore. Show more of her. I don't want to see more of David, who is just this flat coward character. Like,
he's
that's his
in there
main
so
trait.
much.
He's
and there is
so much,
nothing to him. There's nothing.
So flat, yeah. And then, it is a lot of him and the other guy, who I guess has a little bit more of a personality, which is he is curious and he recognizes that David's a coward. That's
I guess so.
It.
Yeah. He's
Then
smart because he wears glasses.
Oh, also, yeah, he's got glasses, so he's smart, yeah. Hey, oh, man. Here's a trope that needs to go away. I think I've mentioned it before. This needs to go away. Actors. We have a good number of actors who listen to this. If you are ever playing a role where you are wearing glasses, and you're not normally a person who wears glasses, let me just tell you this. People who wear glasses don't take off their glasses for dramatic effect.
I know, right? Like, people
Ever.
take them off casually. It's like, I need to not be able to see to say this.
Yeah. It's
I can't even
never
look at
happened.
you and say this.
Never
Let me take these
one
glasses
time has a person who's nearsighted been like, need to take these glasses off to tell you.
It'd be really cool if, like, in movies or in real life when people have hearing aids and they're like, I really just got to take my hearing aid out to say this.
Yeah, hold on a second. Pulls it off.
Really?
Then he just starts yelling real loud. Damn it, Grandpa.
Yeah, it's like, what is the thing in this where, like, people need to take their glasses off to say something important? It's like, that's not going to help you in any way.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the kind of thing, though, where, you know, if you're driving around and maybe you're lost or you're looking for a turn and you, like, turn the music down, so you're like, I need one less sense going so I can concentrate right now.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I need everything. Hold on, I'm going to try it. I'm going to say what I'm about to say, but I'm taking my glasses off.
Okay.
I need
see if it makes
everything
it
to
better.
be fuzzy so I can really put my brain into what I'm trying to
Dude,
say.
it's like Daredevil, man. Daredevil's blind. All of his other senses are heightened. It's the
Actually,
same
right now,
thing.
with my glasses off, I feel an intruder nearby, and I think I'm going to hit him with a baton.
Uh-oh, your Steven sense is tingling.
Yeah, it's just such a weird trope. Speaking of girl with the dragon tattoo, Daniel Craig wears glasses in that, and he keeps doing shit with his glasses no one's ever done. Like, he lets them just dangle off of his face, like at his chin. I've never seen a person ever do that.
No. Why would you do that?
It's like, if you've never worn glasses before and you get a role wearing glasses, put the glasses on your face. The end.
Try leaving them.
That's
like
all they
people do.
That's what we do. Anyway. So yeah, characters though. Jane Levy, Mia is the deep character, you know, because she's got the addiction story, and really, like, there is this strong sort of story about how addiction can make you a separate demonic person, a person who cares only about this one thing, and
totally
will destroy everything around them.
That's something that I really got out of it this time that I didn't get the first time that I watched the movie, because I remember the first time that I watched it just thinking the entire addiction, you know, kicking the habit storyline was like really superfluous.
Yeah.
And then I started noticing it's like, oh man, it's like the same way that The Exorcist dealt with a lot of parallels between puberty and possession. I think that this movie deals with addiction and possession in really similar ways, where it's like you will do things that knowingly harm yourself. Like Natalie like shoots herself in the head with a nail gun and stuff like that a bunch of times, and there's people inflicting self-harm. There's people that are harming their family and fucking destroying everything around them. And you're like, why would you do that? You know what you're doing. But when you're an addict, that's just what you do. You got to fucking feed the addiction.
It does, yeah. Nothing matters. No connections matter. The only thing that matters is getting that fixed. So, like,
Yeah.
that is like, that's good. It's just that there is a whole lot more going on in the movie that doesn't play into that theme, and I think they should have tried to stick more to that theme, because so many of the lines are shit that it's just exposition we don't need. Like, just so
very
much.
clumsy exposition at the front, where it's like, I'm your brother who has not seen you for years. Our mother was crazy. I know that. Like, the way that those two, the brother and the sister, like, relay information to each other. It's like, hey, remember when mom was in the hospital and she was really sick and eventually she died? It's like, that's not how you talk to people about things that have happened in your lives. It's like, actually, you know what? I'd forgotten about that, but now I remember. Yeah. What? Who talks that way?
Yeah, it's strange. Like, I mean, I get it. I think some of it is lost in translation, and they did, that was something they addressed. They had Diablo Cody come in to rewrite some of the dialogue to try to Americanize it, but, like, I think maybe it was too little too late. Like, they probably should have gotten some more people in to try to really fix up the dialogue, because without some of this bad exposition dialogue, the, like, set piece to set piece is, like, each of the set pieces are so good that you want to keep watching. It does, and so, like, all the stuff that's happening on the side that doesn't really matter or doesn't really grab your attention, it's like, well, this will be over in a second and somebody will be cutting their face off in a shower. Like,
right,
it would be so much better if you could just improve, if they had gotten somebody in to really improve that dialogue and really improve the characters. Like, because I mean, Mia has something going. David, his only thing is that he's Mia's brother, really. Eric, I guess, Eric, I guess, is just curious, but he's, I mean, whatever. Olivia is a nurse. Now, here's where this movie really goes wrong for me.
As someone who is wed to a nurse.
Yeah, I'm married to a nurse. And I know a lot of nurses, have interacted with a bunch of Emily's, coworkers and stuff. And I'll tell you this. Nurses, some may, but very few and far between. Nurses mostly are just people who saw an opportunity for a job where you'll definitely get hired and you'll make a pretty good wage and you'll have insurance.
And they have a strong stomach.
Yes, they do. They can clean up shit. They can, see all sorts of blood. Those things don't bother them. If they had made the Olivia character a doctor, this would have made more sense, because a doctor is someone who could have the hubris to believe that it's a good idea to take an addict as far away from a hospital as possible, because anything that happens, you can handle it.
Yeah, totally. What's the worst that could happen? Somebody going through extreme withdrawals from opiate addiction. Come on.
Don't worry, I stole a bag of drugs, so I've got it. It's fine. Again, if it was a doctor, it would make sense that she has the drugs, because a doctor can get access to those drugs. That's what they do. A nurse does not have access to those drugs unless they steal them. So this nurse is stealing drugs to do an ill-advised thing of taking her heroin-addicted friend out as far away from a hospital as possible to go through DTs. The setup of the movie is stupid.
Maybe that's a secret subplot, though, where what's happening is she is so sick of trying to pull her friend out of the throes of addiction and then rehab and addiction again. She's like, fuck it. These people will trust me. I'm the medical expert. I'm going to take her out of the woods and just fucking let her kill herself.
Holy shit.
We'll be done with this. Maybe she's the fucking villain. Because honestly, here's the thing. The people doing the voodoo down in the basement with the dead cat strung up and stuff like that, they were right.
They absolutely were right. They are not the villains.
No. So maybe it's actually Nurse Olivia that's actually the bad guy here.
the thing that really bothers me is that Olivia seems to be the only other one that has much personality, and they kill her first.
Yeah.
I
She's
mean,
kind of gone right away.
Aside from the dog, who they introduced to be like, here's a dog, and then be like, here's a cellar door, and then be like, here's a dead fucking dog.
Dog's
like,
dead.
that's it. Yeah. It was, like,
Well, actually, though, in the process, though, they also introduced the Shrieking Shack, where you crawl
they
through that little
did
tunnel,
introduce
then
the
get up in a
Shrieking
shack.
Yes. That is true.
Yeah.
We've talked about it so many times. The introduction of an animal just to have something to kill is stupid. But
Low blow.
it should at the very least heighten the stakes.
Yeah.
It does not do that in this movie.
You know, I didn't think about that until you mention it, but it's not like her brother is just like, you're a fucking maniac. You have to be stopped. You killed our fucking dog. You killed
Nope.
Grandpa or whatever. It's just like, oh, shit, the dog's dead. Bet my sister did it.
I'm going to go knock on the door. Wait, the door's locked? Now I'm concerned. Like, he's completely forgot the dog's dead. Like, if you killed my dog, it would take me a long time.
Oh, that door's coming down. That
Yeah.
door's fucking coming down. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I am not running in there like, are you okay? I'm running in there like, what the fuck?
What's the matter with you?
Yes. I hope your skin does burn off, asshole. You killed my dog.
But what about Natalie, though? She's got a lot to her character.
Yeah,
Tell me
she
some of the
does.
things
She
that
does.
you've noticed about her. Tell me some character traits.
She got blonde.
Yeah, is blonde, has blonde, okay.
She do pretty face.
Yep, does pretty face, it's true. I did notice
Mhm.
that.
End.
Yeah, she does
Yeah.
get kind of black knighted, which is really cool.
That's true.
Merely a flesh wound. Your
Yeah.
arm's off.
Yeah,
No, it
well,
isn't.
See, that's the thing. That's the interesting thing is I wish they had given her more character because she actually has the most, I guess, of the three women who get possessed, she does the most devastation.
Oh my
Like,
god.
she's the badass.
That's true. Yeah, it's like not only the damage she inflicts on herself, but also the stuff she does to
Yeah.
Eric and is it Daniel or Dave? It's Daniel, isn't it?
Dave.
Dave. Okay,
David.
Dave, whatever.
Yep.
The devastation she does to those guys is fucking brutal. So you're right. It's like
Yeah.
she's like the tank of the whole movie, but there is no character there. But dude, whenever it gets to
Sad.
that scene where, you know, she's kind of got the Ash Evil Dead 2 like evil hand going on.
Yeah.
She comes to her senses and like, I need to cut my arm off with this mechanical meat knife that we clumsily introduced earlier in the movie. By showing,
Gotta talk about
showing
that
us
in a
this thing,
second. Yeah.
carve through that roast beef or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, whenever it shows her sitting on the floor, though, and she's going through the mental process of, I guess I'm about to cut my own arm off, and it shows the knife going towards the arm, I kept waiting for the cut. It's like, okay, so they're going to cut away from this
Yeah.
and just show
like,
her face and the reaction, or it'll cut and it'll be a prosthetic and from a different camera angle. And you realize that the arm that was in the shot was the prosthetic all along,
Yeah.
and that knife starts cutting through it. Like, that level of unflinching violence, and also,
Yeah.
again, just fucking, these are guitar player problems. The idea of cutting your own arm off, holy
Yeah.
fucking shit, man.
Oh, arms and hands really have it rough in this movie.
Ooh,
like,
man. That's what I'm saying.
where we
Like,
get-
crowbar, all
she-
that stuff, yeah.
She loses both arms. Both men, one gets hit in the forearm with a crowbar, one gets hit in the hand with a crowbar. And then Mia also loses a hand. Hands get it rough
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah, everybody's got arms off. That's true. This movie's very anti-hand. I think this
is.
movie was paid for by Big Leg.
I bet it was paid for by Big Football, if you know what I'm talking about.
What about Bigfoot?
Bigfoot!
Bigfoot did it.
Bigfoot loves arms.
Turns out.
But he just wants to draw more attention to them, so he's like, if you take the arms off, people will start talking.
Dude, there's so much stuff like that through this whole movie, though, where it's just like, it had me, like I said, genuinely squirming like I haven't had
Yeah.
a reaction to gore
Yeah.
and violence in movies in a long time, man.
Yep, it does. It's super effective, which very much indicates exactly how good Alvarez is as a director.
Yeah.
That the characters are flat mostly, and a lot of the dialogue is clunky and bad, but I still enjoy watching this movie because
That's the thing, right? Like the
those set
direction
pieces
is
are great.
is really good. Like,
Yeah.
and I wonder if the flatness of the characters and the unbelievability of the dialogue is a language barrier thing.
Yeah, I think
where-
it may just be a bit
You
of
know?
lost in translation sort of stuff where like
I think so too.
yeah, where like I think there's one line in particular that I thought maybe was translated weird, and it was I just don't want to become the devil's bitch. And
Yeah.
the reason I thought that was weird is because I don't think the devil has ever been mentioned in the Evil Dead franchise.
I don't think so. It's the Deadites. It's like there's not
Yeah.
really a God, Satan, angel, demon
Yeah.
sort of thing there.
Yeah, it's about like they're interdimensional type of weird demons. Like it was a tree thing and a face. It's not. This isn't about God and Satan. This is like, but the small things that keep adding up to me is like, well, this seems to be like the production should have stepped in with a lot of these things. Like they should have been the ones to fix these things. And they must have just waited to the last moment. Because if you get Diablo Cody in to rewrite the lines and these are the lines you get, you must not have given her much time.
Yeah, or maybe she wasn't that familiar with the franchise, you know?
Which seems unlikely as someone who wrote a
Right.
horror movie. You know, she probably knows the franchise, but who knows? Like, I think there are some issues here that probably could have been resolved by the producers along the way, because you have this director who knows what he's doing. Just because you have a slight language barrier. I mean, it's Spanish. Somebody fucking learn Spanish. Not
Yeah.
that hard. Jesus. Anyway, but yeah, those slight problems though, again, like when you look at the total final product, they don't destroy it.
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you what, though, Ben. Between all of the barbed wire, all of the broken glass, all of the nails,
Mm-hmm.
all of the people closing up open, gaping wounds with duct tape, this might be the most ECW movie of all time.
ECW.
Like, dude, in my notes, the amount of times I have ECW written
Yeah.
is insane. Where it's just
Yeah.
like, close up wound with duct tape, ECW, cuts off face with glass, ECW.
What if at one point one of them just jumped up on a table and did a Sabu flip on somebody?
Threw a chair
you.
at somebody and fucking
Just throw a
decapitated him.
chair at somebody's face. Yeah.
Dude, okay, here's an idea, though. Trademark Dead and Fucking Lovely right here. Why in the fuck has nobody done a horror movie like this and just cast Terry Funk, Sabu, fucking Mick Foley, and have them do as many realistic fucking stunts and stuff as they
Yeah.
can? Why not just make it real? They do it.
I mean, I think that's probably been like the idea with like having Kane or somebody be the villain, but it never works out that way.
No.
I would love to see that. Just Robert England, but Terry Funk. Oh fuck,
I'm down
Terry
for it.
Funk could be Freddy. Holy
That would
shit.
be awesome. That would be fucking
That's it.
awesome.
Funk for Freddy 2021.
Yeah, start that hashtag like right now, you know? But I gotta say, like, I do think that the direction and stuff in this is good, and I think the look of the movie is good too. It does have that like hyper saturated, like almost millennial thing going on, but
Yeah.
I think that it looks cool, and I
Me
think that
too.
there's also some shots in this that are very, very memorable and very intense. Like,
Yes.
one of the shots in particular in this movie that really sticks out to me is after dude is like burying Mia alive, and he's got the bag over her head, and you know, you have that still shot of just her covered up to her neck in dirt with the bag over her head talking to him.
Yeah.
I think that is a very fucked up, like,
Yes.
haunting image. Like her breath is kind of like smoking the bag up a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just really, really creepy, really strange, man. And you know, again, that like ties perfectly into the whole like addict thing, where it's like she's like, "Why do you hate me?" when he's just like trying to help her and stuff like this. I think that really ties in very well to that kind of way that addicts will sort of play on people. You know?
Yeah, and that's exactly what she does throughout. I think it's just not enough of her, honestly.
Yeah.
Like Jane Levy she's the best actress in this. She's the best person acting in this. She's She's really going for it. When we get her versus her at the end, it's awesome. Fucking great.
Yeah.
Just
the
an
Abomination.
awesome. Yeah. Like all the bits with her, I really, really enjoy. I wish they had just had her more involved throughout, because she kind of disappears in the middle of the movie. Like we know she's there, but she's not doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, she spends so much time just like down in the cellar chilling. It's almost like Laurie Strode in Halloween 2, where it's just like,
Yeah.
the best person of this movie is in a coma the whole time.
Yep. And it does not help.
I like the look of her as the demon and stuff too. I think that looks pretty effective and pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's really playing it up, hamming it up down there with the cellar door and stuff. Doing some stuff that we saw in the first one, but the first one didn't. The contacts were like that milky sort of contact, so there wasn't like eye expressions, and she's really like going for it with those big green or big like goldish demon eyes. Yeah, I think she's doing a lot, but again, like, yeah, she's just not getting much opportunity because she's away from everybody else in the cellar, and they're just using that time to kill everybody else to get to her and David at the end.
I'll tell you what, too, though, man.
It's fine.
She is a trooper. Like, this movie, especially considering the fact that, there's not really much CG or anything in it, means that pretty much everything that you saw was really happening. And she was really, really, really hardcore about getting all this stuff done. I mean, even the shots at the end with like the, blood rain and stuff like that, those lasted like a week. Like they shot that for like a fucking week.
Yeah, this was like a 70-day shoot all night. So they were really, and so she's out there in that blood rain fucking ripping off fake arms and shoving chainsaws in mouths. It's awesome. That last bit is just, once it's just her and the Abomination, it is awesome. Just
no
great.
kidding, man. But it seems like it was really tough for everybody this entire shoot, which really carries on very well with the Evil Dead tradition, because of course the original Evil Dead is one of the most grueling, inhumane movie shoots ever, and this movie really, really carried it on, and that's something that apparently that Alvarez and also Bruce Campbell, who I guess was a producer on this.
Yeah, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell both produced on this.
Producers, like they told all the actors and actresses like, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be one of the hardest things that you've ever done in your career, and I mean even shots where like. There's that part where Mia's on top of Natalie and she just like pukes all that blood onto her.
Ugh.
Like that's not fake.
No,
I mean, like they had hoses and stuff like that
blood,
connected
but
to.
it's going straight into her face.
Yeah, and it's a long shot too. And apparently, like they had to have Natalie like squeeze her arm to tell her, "Hey, I'm about to drown," because they kept that shot going for a while. I mean, it sounds like this was not at all fun to do, and they shot most of the movie in sequence apparently, so that way they could really like smear that house full of blood and just leave it and not have to clean it up, just like leave it there for continuity's sake, which I think is really cool too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's I mean, they really did do a good job of capturing the spirit in some ways of Evil Dead, while maybe not capturing the tone entirely. That's fine though. I mean, the fact is that the first Evil Dead was a much darker, more demonic movie, and you could
they were going for serious.
Yeah, so like you could see how trying to drop into that world, you're not going to get the wackiness of Ash because nobody else has gone through what he's gone through. So you can't just bring in a character and be like, okay, be wacky like Ash. They've not had to chop up their girlfriend. They've not, had to experience this fight with demons and shit. You're not going to be that. So you've got to come at it a different angle. You're saying, okay, this is the world where demons exist. What if other people showed up here and unlike Ash, they do not figure out how to fight these demons very quickly and they all get killed.
Yeah. Well, what's funny, though, is like you can look at the original Evil Dead, which is this movie that was trying to be serious, but had some unintentionally silly and funny stuff in it. And then you look at Evil Dead 2, and it's almost like they said, what if we could remake that and really capture all those comedic, wacky parts that came up by accident? Whereas this movie is almost like they were like, what if we took the really serious parts that didn't really turn out all that serious, and we made that an entire movie. It's like Evil Dead 2 is the comedic side of Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2013 is the serious side of Evil Dead in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which is why, any of those times that it tries to sort of pay homage to Evil Dead in the comic tone, it's just like, this shouldn't be in here. Like, just cut that out. It's like, it's almost like, let's say a band that they play covers. They call themselves a cover band. And when they go to play the covers, they play the covers all wrong and do them terribly. But then they end the set with one of their own original songs, and everybody's like, whoa, this is fucking awesome. They come up to the band afterwards and they say, good set. Set wasn't good. The song was good. All the homage you were paying kind of fucking sucked. But when you got creative and got original, I really liked it. So, I mean, that's kind of what I feel about this movie. Is like every time they pay homage, I'm like, you don't. Like, why? I mean, when Ash cuts off his hand, it's like mad and crazy and insane, but it's also a little funny and silly. And now you're doing it, but just doing it like unflinching. It's like, okay, well, that's cool, but like, why don't you do your own unflinching thing? Stop paying homage to movies that you're saying you're in the own, like, same universe of. Like, just because you're in the same universe doesn't mean the same events would happen. That's crazy.
Right. Well, and that kind of brings you to a point that Zach brought up during the interview there is like, did this have to be an Evil Dead movie?
No, it shouldn't have been.
I don't think so. Like, and I think I would have appreciated it more. Yeah. I think I would have appreciated it more if it wasn't Evil Dead, Because if you call it Evil Dead, all you're going to be doing is making comparisons to Ash and Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and yada yada, like the things that we've known for fucking 30 years now, 30 plus years. But I think that this movie could have just been something else. It's like, it's not the Necronomicon that had to bring the demons out.
No,
it could have just been
like,
it's like, oh, we went to a cabin and it turns out that our mother was actually a witch in the background.
Yep.
Our grandmother was summoning demons. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That's enough. And it could have just been this unique story about this person trying to overcome addiction and being possessed by demons. And I might have even respected it more.
I think I definitely would have. If you just give this a different title, give it a different, little bit of a different intro, obviously, as you said, maybe lean into witch or Satanist, something of that sort. And then, just all the same events can happen, but you don't have to keep paying homage back to Evil Dead for any reason. And you don't title it Evil Dead and people go see it and they go, fuck, I just saw a really cool movie.
Yeah, it's kind of another, sort of cabin in the woods type movie where there's people that go out to this abandoned location and crazy shit happens. But yeah, it's got this really unique perspective and the gore is just outstanding.
Yeah.
That can stand on its own.
I think so. Yeah, so like really, the movie has to deal with the fact that it's this Evil Dead movie, which, it, of all the ones throughout the 2000s, I think it definitely was the best of all the remakes. Without a doubt, definitely the best. But it didn't have to do that. It could have just been an original movie. I realized that more people came and saw it because it was titled Evil Dead, but it's still like it was at a time when people wanted original stuff. I mean, this is after the Babadook. This is after the Witch. Like, people
that's hard to believe.
Yeah, like people are seeing artistic, great original horror now.
Yeah.
So, like, if you just said, well, look at this, people would probably be like, fuck yeah, awesome, cool.
I hadn't thought about the timeline there, but you're right. This was totally after those original non-remake movies that made a huge impact.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, here's the thing, though, is like, according to Alvarez and the writer, this isn't a remake of the first movie. This apparently does take place in the same universe, and they're saying that is the cabin from Evil Dead, and these are people that came across the book 30 years after Ash did. That's why the classic is still out there in the yard and shit.
Yeah.
So apparently this isn't a remake.
Yeah, it's just part of the... because... Wait, did you see the post-credit bit?
Where he says Groovy at the end?
Yeah. So yeah, they introduce him there at the end, like he's here. And yeah, that was his car. But then, what's the point of that? Like, what does that do for the series? For Evil Dead?
It leaves you walking out of the theater going, hey, remember Evil Dead? Hey,
yeah,
remember this
really
is my boomstick?
Yeah, which is like, oh yeah, I mean, I do. I remember those, but you want to be walking out of a movie saying, remember how cool that thing in the movie was, not remember other movies.
Yeah, remember other movies? I will say, though, that, one of the big things that this did dodge in comparison to so many of those other remakes around the same era is how little CGI that it uses. And
yes.
I know that Alvarez and them really brag about how there's no CGI in here. There is CGI in here.
There is CGI. I think he's being technical because he worked in CGI. There's green screen stuff for sure. There's like that they did not actually set that girl on fire in the beginning.
How disappointing. They didn't burn someone alive. Come on.
Yeah, and the flame damage on her face is not real flame damage. Like, those things are CGI, but...
And I get you can say, it's like, oh, it's real flames that we filmed and then superimposed. But then at the same time, how do you explain, whenever they recreate the tree rape scene, whenever she has that, like, black vine thing, like, crawl out of her mouth? Like, that's not real.
Yeah, I mean... I'd have to see how it was shot again. But yeah, I mean, I could see they could shoot it away where it looks like it's coming out of her mouth, but it did seem like it was actually coming out of her mouth.
Yeah,
who knows?
it didn't
I mean,
look
maybe
like
she just
motion.
swallowed that gross-ass motherfucking thing and puked it out. Maybe she's just
Maybe
a
it's that
badass.
simple.
Who knows? Yeah.
But
yeah. But it's still very minimal CGI and mostly just touch-up type of stuff. So, absolutely... A1 effort for that. Like, I'm sure it had to be hard to convince, probably not hard to convince Raimi, but hard to convince the studio, like, yeah, we're doing this remake and stuff, but we're gonna use practical effects. Like, that had to be, especially in a time of remakes when, again, as I said, they're trying to do cheap as possible, quick as possible.
Yeah.
Had to be tough to convince them, no, we need a 70-day shoot and we need practical effects. But, I mean... From my experience, I mean, it made a ton of money, but from my experience of talking with people, almost everybody has a positive remembrance of this movie.
Yeah, totally, man.
So, the gamble worked.
I think so.
It had to be tough to convince, but it worked.
Yeah, and too, like, that dedication to doing as much of the violence and gore as practical as possible, I think really, really pays off, especially in... particularly like grueling close-up moments, like whenever she's hiding in the walls of the shed, which again, it's like a shed that tiny, would you really be able to hide in between the walls?
Yeah,
or did you
for
just
real.
want to reference Evil Dead 2?
Yeah.
It's still cool and all that stuff, but whenever the abomination is like stabbing that machete through, and you remember there's that shot where the machete like drags slowly across the top of her leg?
Yeah.
And you can really see the prosthetic like pulling with the knife, like human flesh would, which is something that in CGI it would just cut through it like it was made out of butter,
Right,
and it wouldn't really look brutal. But in this, like the way that the prosthetic, again, pull is the only word I can think of. Same thing when the arm gets cut off, or like when she's pulling her hand out from under the car and it rips off. Like, the way those things pull and stretch as though they have actual structure and weight attached to them is something that is not able to be captured by CG, and it makes it so much more fucking punishing to watch, man. So their gamble to stick to practical effects really paid off, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely, and I think this, the addiction bit is a really good idea for dealing with demonic possession.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, putting those two together, really smart. I wish it had been more of the focus and less of the stuff about, like, their mom having, mental illness and stuff, because that doesn't really play much into it. Except later for her to sing that song to creep him out, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like there's a lot of stuff that sets up things, but it's like, it's so unnatural. Like the roast beef, for instance. Like, who goes to a cabin to help your friend DT and is like, well, we'll take a roast beef and we'll cook it ultra rare
You know what'll get your mind off the heroin? Roast beef.
Roast beef. Yeah. So, but that's just a setup that they have. The electric knife. So, they're little bitty issues. And I had this issue because how she loses a hand.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, oh, it's probably a reference, to the scripture in which Jesus says, if your right hand offend thee, then cut it off.
Okay, all right.
Better to lose the hand than that the whole body be corrupted. Except they do her left hand. Like I thought maybe they were going for this like Jesus thing, but then it's just like, no, it's just like, we like cutting off hands because it's Evil Dead. It's like the one moment I thought they got deep.
But, traditionally the left hand is the sinister one, the one that is responsible for the left-hand path of El Diablo.
Yeah, that's actually, maybe there is some depth there. That's exactly what she is doing. She's cutting off the sinister hand, which is a representation of the abomination Mia that is stalking her. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe there is some good depth there that I just dismissed for a sec.
I don't know, but I like that at the end, even though whenever she gets buried alive and she dies and she's resurrected by this very fucking half-ass, homemade defib machine that dude cooks
that
up.
Would not work.
Yeah, oh, dude, absolutely not. Using his unknown knowledge that lets him do these things for some reason. I like the fact that the thing that finally got her unpossessed was essentially hitting rock bottom,
Yeah. That is it. I mean, yeah, it's that is really it's so much of this allegory about addiction and overcoming addiction, how addiction will destroy the things around you and you'll lose
Sometimes what you got to
everything.
do is become legally dead to kick it.
Listen,
legally dead.
I don't know in what state there is a legal definition of death and why they passed a law regarding when one is dead. But that line needs to go. No one is... You're dead when your heart stops. The law does not get involved.
I like the idea, though, of some cops finding a corpse that they find to be illegally dead, and they just throw the corpse in jail. That's fine.
Like, you fucker, you didn't get a license.
Who's
you
your
weren't supposed
cellmate?
to be dead.
My cellmate's a fucking corpse. That's fun. Come on.
Yeah, that is fun. You're right. Corpse cellmate does sound like a fun time.
Illegally dead corpse mate. What do you think about the soundtrack in this flick? I think it's actually pretty cool.
I think so too. The only thing I had a problem with was whenever we first see the friends all together, there's this sort of Lifetime music playing. It's a little too it just doesn't fit, but everything else is great. I think it works great.
I think so too. A lot of the music in it has that really, really eerie, super melancholy, minor major 7 chord quality that I always find super haunting that I didn't notice that song that you're talking about. I'll have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, it's so brief. It's just the little bit where she's sitting on the 88 and he comes over to her and it's I guess we're supposed to feel something there, and they were like, oh, nobody's feeling anything. Lifetime music, go.
Let me just run this assessment by you and see if you feel the same way about this.
Okay.
Does this movie feel like you asked, what's his fucking name? Zack Snyder and the DC Cinematic Universe to make an Evil Dead movie? Does it kind of feel like that?
Okay, it does a little, yeah, but that is endemic of these remakes, is that they went so hard on the dark and edgy, and everything is fucking... Everybody's got an ulterior evil motive, and
it's
everything
gritty
is
and realistic.
Gritty and bad. Yeah.
Where do these people live that everything is this gritty? Where?
Maybe Philadelphia, huh? Flyers
gritty
fans.
Philly.
What? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they... I mean, I do... The idea was it was going along with what was popular, and for some reason after 9/11 we all became emo, I guess. The whole nation became emo, and we were like, here, emo shit, deal with it, for 15 years, I guess, and then we'll start leveling off. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing is, though, like, you look at it, the way that the MCU was set up, it's set up happy and bright. Like, dark shit happens, but it's happy and bright, so you can always go back to happy and bright. With the DCEU, they can never transition to happy and bright. Like, every movie up to this point has been so dark and gritty and grimy that they can never actually become what they want. I mean, I think Suicide Squad and more particularly Birds of Prey is kind of what they wish all of the movies were. Is that because that has a very particular aesthetic that is it's something. I mean, kids like it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But it's not, I mean, yeah, it's just so, yeah, the dark and gritty thing, I mean, it's almost completely gone, I hope. Predominantly, you're not seeing it as much. I mean, some shit is dark and gritty, so of course you're going to have dark and gritty moments, but not every movie just has to be that from beginning to end.
No, Yeah, I totally get whenever people love this movie or don't. Or just think it's okay. Like, honestly, this is one of those flicks where it's like, if you're such a hardcore fan of the original, I get that you watch this and you're like, there's no whimsy, there's nothing fun, there's no ash. Why even call this Evil Dead? I get that. I also get if you watch this movie and you're like, fuck yeah, they took an idea and went somewhere else with it. The gore is outstanding. Yeah. I love it. I also get if you're just kind of like where I think we are, where there's like, yeah, there's good and bad about it.
It's just,
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. You know, if somebody was like, do you want to watch the Friday the 13th remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, or this? I'd be like, well, obviously the Evil Dead remake.
Evil Dead, yeah, no contest.
Yeah, no contest. But if somebody asked me if I wanted to watch this or, any original horror movie, I'd be like, yeah, probably the original horror movie. Right. At the very least, just to be like, oh, I saw something new rather than just a, despite the fact that this has its positives, it is very much a lot of that dark, gritty, just repeat shit that had been going on up to it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited that they're making another one, the Evil Dead Rise. I'm excited about that. I want to see where they go, because again, now we're in a different phase of horror. They don't have to go back to gritty. Can they like meld the gritty bit and the Bruce Campbell bit? Like, I mean, Bruce Campbell's not going to be in it, so no idea where it's going to go. I just hope it's not a rehash of some of this stuff. I want it to be full creative or fully interesting and new.
Yeah, totally, man. But only time shall tell. But as for this movie itself, man, do you got any final thoughts and a rating you want to slap on this sumbitch? Okay, so it's obvious that Fede Alvarez is a great director. He really has a good eye. Absolutely one of my favorite shots in a horror movie I've seen in a long time is when he does like the zoom to her, then the Dutch angle, then the arm comes up out of the ground and grabs her. Yeah,
like
super
that
cool.
Action shot is just so fucking cool. Loved it.
Totally. Yeah.
I love what he does. I think, Jane Levy is just awesome. She's great. Be happy to see her in anything else. So there's just so much to like about this movie. But again, it has its problems. So it is more of a middle of the road, but I want to give it an okay score because it really is the best, I think, remake of the remake boom. I think it's still not as good as, say, something completely original like my middle of the road Autopsy of Jane Doe. So I'm going to give this up like a 4.5 approaching 5.
Wow. Okay. That's actually a little bit lower than I thought that you would rate it. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the dialogue really got me.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, honestly, I had forgotten going into this that the dialogue is really not good and how clumsy that exposition and stuff at the first of the movie is and the character interactions and just how absolutely thin the characters are. And I realize that, if you go back and you watch the original Evil Dead, other than Ash, you probably can't tell me a lot about any of the other characters. Like, there's not really a ton of characterization to the original.
His sister Cheryl draws. I know that. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like
That's
there's not really a ton to anything in the original either. But I don't know. It's kind of like what we said about like the Pet Sematary remake, where it's like you had 30 years to improve this. You had 30 years, and you just kind of came back with some of the same problems, you know? So I had forgotten how shallow the characters and character development are, so that's definitely a setback. But, dude, the gore in this just affects me like so few movies do, And I think it's just due to the fact that so much of it is done with common, ordinary household objects, where it's like, you might not have a machete or a fucking chainsaw or whatever in your house, but after you watch this movie, you really feel how brutal it would be to be stabbed with a fucking pair of wire cutters. There's one scene in there where she stabs him up with fucking wire cutters. It's like they're not even sharp. They're dull.
They're dull. I've been stabbed in that exact area. It doesn't feel good with a sharp instrument.
Ooh,
man alive. Now, it's not lay down and die like he does type of pain, but fucking it would hurt a lot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's just something about that like, again, it's the same kind of reaction you get when you watch an ECW fucking hardcore match and you see people pulling thumbtacks out of their skin and stuff, where you're just like, oh, like I have those in my house. That could happen to me right now. Like, I don't have an AR-15 in my house. I don't know what it would feel like to get shot with that. I have, however, picked up a lot of thumbtacks and or stepped on them or whatever. So it's like, whenever you see somebody cutting their face open with glass or getting... pulling nails out of their skin and shit like that. Like, that's violence that you can feel because it's relatable. And I think this movie does an outstanding job of doing effective violence that is shocking and unflinching and uncompromising in a lot of ways. So I'm going to give it bonus points for having brutality in it that affected me in ways that stuff hasn't for a really long time. I think the last 30, 40 minutes of this are fucking great.
Yeah.
I think the first hour or so is not very great.
No.
But dude, at the end when we're talking like, man, there's fucking blood raining down. Holy shit. The way she fucking feeds that abomination thing the chainsaw and clefts it in twain. Fucking metal. Dude, like there's nothing more metal, and there's so much blood. Like 70,000 gallons of blood they used on this. Holy shit, man. Fucking awesome. So, yeah, again, bonus props for the violence and the practical effects and stuff like that. Big negatives for the fact that it didn't have to be Evil Dead, and the character development and stuff like that kind of sucks. I'm going to say it's higher than what you rated. I'm going to call this probably like a 6.5. I think feels pretty fair.
6.5. That is fair.
6.5 to me. I'll watch it again, for sure.
Oh, I'll watch it again, too. But, yeah, I'm not rushing to. I'm not in a hurry. Yeah.
Well, Steve, next week for our second week of Halloweendom, we're going to be watching a OG legendary horror classic. I think the oldest movie we've done on the show ever.
It is. We did Nightmare on Night of the Living Dead from 1968 previously, but now we're rolling up with some Hitchcock, motherfucker.
Woo!
Psycho.
It's Psycho time. It's been so long since I watched this movie, it's gonna be like watching it for the first time, honestly.
Yeah, it has been a very, very long time for me too, and I'm excited to get back to it, but also intimidated, because anytime we do something old, I have to do a ton of research.
Ooh.
But
hitting
I
the
kind of
books,
like
nerd.
it, so that's fun.
All right. Well, that'll be a fun episode, so you guys be sure to tune in then. In the meantime, rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. Helps us out a ton, and it doesn't cost you a dime. But if you do want to spend several dimes, you can support us on Patreon.
Patreon.com/Dead and Lovely. If you drop at least 10 dimes, you get access to the Patreon exclusive episodes. We most recently did the X-Files Home.
It was good.
So good and gory and crazy. Go over there, become a member. If you become a $5 patron, you get to throw a movie title into the smoking bowl We randomly pull one out each month and we cover that movie. So you get to decide which movies we cover. And guess what? We even pull ones out when we're not randomly picking them. This movie, Evil Dead, was suggested by several people. So we decide what movies we cover by both, you know, what people suggest on social media and what our Patreon patrons submit.
That's right. So $5 a month, you can help drive the direction of the show. So sign up today. Don't delay. Also follow us on Instagram and all that bullshit.
Yep. At Dead Lovely Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
And Facebook.com/Dead and Lovely. Head over there as well.
It's where all the cool kids
place.
are hanging out. That's right. And be sure to tune in next week when we review the immortal classic Pasicho.
It's me, Pasicho. That's what he says. Norman Bates shows up and he's like, "It's me, Pasicho," and then he stabs you.
Hola, estoy Pasicho.
he pretends to be a Hispanic man, so that people are like, "Oh, that's not Norman Bates of the motel nearby."
It's
Looks
Pasicho.
similar, but he speaks a different language, so it must be a different guy. It's Pasicho.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, that'll be a fun episode, so be sure to tune in then. Hope everybody is having a good early Halloween season and staying healthy, wealthy, and wise and living life like you're a fancy horse.
Party like a fancy horse.
Party like a fancy horse. Wash your fucking hands.
And your ass.
Tune in next time to Dead Lovely. I'm Uncle Ben.
I'm all over.
Bye.
Bye.
Coming to theaters this summer from Disney Pixar, a whimsical tale about a misunderstood young girl that goes to a private academy and is teased for her ability to talk to insects and bugs. Along the way, she'll befriend a curmudgeonly Scottish professor and make great lifelong friends with a baboon. Why, it's Dario Argento's Phenomenon, brought to you by Pixar. It sounds right,
great.
though. Like it sounds like that would
right.
work.
Yeah, it really does. You know what else it sounds like, Ben? And I never thought about it till you just put it in those terms. It sounds an awful lot like Harry Potter.
You know, boy with powers, he can talk to things other people can't talk to, and it makes them think like, oh, maybe he's real spooky.
And he makes close friends with a Scottish professor who has a wild animal.
Oh.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's possible J.K. Rowling is just taking Dario Argento's movies and translating them into, like, English.
You heard it here first,
for
Dead
the world.
Lovely listeners. You heard it here first. The next scandal to rock the J.K. Rowling story.
Yeah. I mean, there is a Dario Argento movie about a school of witches.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Might be
Maybe
something
so.
to it.
Maybe J.K. Rowling has been just taking Dario Argento's stuff for, I don't know, how many years? Since 98.
And maybe Dario Argento has been writing the best Pixar movies since the fucking 70s.
I hope so.
It happened.
I would love to hear that. If that were to be true, if Pixar came out and they were like, look, okay, we didn't want to admit it, but Dario Argento writes all of our movies.
He ghost wrote all of the hits.
Remember Up? Well, when he told it to us, it was a bit different, but I mean, old man loses wife, builds a balloon house. Who else would have thought of that?
In this time, instead of the girl, she talked to bugs. This time, there's a dog that talks to people.
He a dog. What? What would he say? Now Dario Argento's getting a great sense of humor.
He is. He's aging like a fine wine.
Right in those Pixar movies.
Yep.